He stole my line. Ronald Reagan. We are but one generation away from the loss of our freedoms. And folks, we've got to stay vigilant. One of the things that enables us to do that is having our youth understand where we've been, because you can't know where you've been. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. I was very proud when my son said he wanted to study history, because it's exactly that. Too many people don't know history. They don't know what brought us to this and what the Constitution is about. We're very fortunate in this county to have some young folks that do recognize that. Our next speaker, Noah Bittner, wrote an essay for the Voice of Democracy titled, "Is the Constitution Still Relevant?" If you would please put your hands together for a dynamic speaker, young man who's going to be a force in this county, Mr. Noah Bittner.
As Mark said, this is in response to the question, is our Constitution still relevant? This is a question that is being asked more and more as our country ages. My answer is a definite yes. The Constitution of the United States of America is an embodiment of what America is and what American freedom looks like, and this is still relevant. In America, all are free, and all have their fair chance as clarified in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution. No, I do not mean that anything you want is immediately handed to you just because you want it and you are an American. I mean that with hard work and determination, all people, no matter who their family is, where they're from, or what race they are, have the chance to become who they want to be in America. This truth is laid out in the Constitution. The Constitution was ratified by the states in 1789. Soon after, in 1791, the first 10 amendments were ratified. These amendments, more commonly called the Bill of Rights, grant people essential rights such as freedom of religion and the right to keep and bear arms. When discussing the Constitution, I can't ignore the issue of how to change it, so let me digress and address that. The Founding Fathers foresaw the issue of how to change the Constitution when necessary. Designating one person, or even a few, to have the power to change the Constitution would defeat the purpose of a governing document such as this. They foresaw the need to carefully protect the Constitution while enabling a demanding amendment process. Congress can propose a constitutional amendment if 2/3 of both the House and Senate vote in favor of the amendment. State legislatures can also call for a constitutional convention that amends the Constitution. There is a 2/3 vote by the state legislatures for an amendment. The president has no role in the amending process. The people vote through senators and representatives, and they vote on amendments. As I said previously, the power to amend the Constitution does not rest in the hands of one or a few people. The power is in the hands of every voting citizen of the United States. Yeah. The main purpose of constitutional amendments is not to change what is already in the document, but to add to it. It was inevitable that the founders would not think of every problem that would arise, such as the 12th Amendment, electing the vice president. The fathers did not foresee the difficulties in the original plan of electing the vice president. Or the 22nd Amendment, the two-term limit for presidents. They didn't foresee someone running again and again for the office of President of the United States. The Constitution does not address things that change with time, such as how high or low taxes are, or relations with foreign countries, and it was never intended to. The Constitution primarily focuses on limiting the power of government and giving each person the same rights as everyone else. It is becoming more and more common for people to attempt to reinterpret the Constitution. These people desire to reinterpret the Constitution to create support for their interests. This is not the point of the Constitution. Patrick Henry said, "The Constitution is an instrument is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government." Yeah. These words eloquently describe why the Constitution exists. These words are more relevant now than ever before. The Constitution is meant to serve as an unbiased protector of the people from those in power. The definition of freedom hasn't changed. Our soldiers in the military fight foreign enemies who want to destroy our country. The Constitution fights domestic enemies.
It's okay. I know it's right. It's all right. Yeah.
Who want to take away the freedoms given to the people. The Constitution is not only relevant today, but it is essential to the prosperity and longevity of this country. So the question again, is our Constitution still relevant? Is it relevant to limit the powers of the government and to grant all people equal rights and freedoms? Yes.
It warms my heart to know that we have young men like that that are willing to learn the Constitution and to keep it alive. We've got too many people that aren't willing to do as much. Thank you so much, Noah. Very good job. If you're ever talking to a progressive who doesn't like particularly aspects of the Constitution that we have here, ask them this: what part of the Soviet Constitution do you disagree with? And I challenge you, go on Wikipedia and look up their constitutions, because it's a beautifully mushy, really nice piece of literature that talks about all this free stuff they get. And who could disagree with it, especially if they're progressives? It sounds nice in principle. Our forefathers had that forethought, and I'm so proud of people like Noah that are willing to come out and tell their story. Our next speaker is Miss Kathy Glass. Kathy Glass ran for governor, if many of y'all might remember, back in 2010 under the Libertarian Party, which is fast growing and getting a lot more attention. As she is currently the chair of the Harris County Libertarian Party, and she spends a lot of time touring around the state in an attempt to build the Libertarian Party of Texas and promote resistance of unconstitutional federal acts through nullification. She recognizes the battle that we have here. And we're talking about the Second Amendment, I don't think we could have a finer speaker come to tell us about her takes on the Constitution and what battles we have to face today. Please put together your hands for Kathy Glass.
Okay. To the people of Texas and all Americans in the world, who can tell me where those words come from?
William Barrett Travis.
Exactly. Colonel William Barrett Travis, victory or death letter from the Alamo. Now, who can tell me what date he wrote that letter? Class, anyone? February 25th, 24th. Tomorrow. It's very fitting that we would remember his words today as we fight a battle which just seems to continue. We remember the words that he wrote because they're not just words. They're powerful words born of mighty deeds, deeds that changed the course of history. But what would America have been without Texas? Yeah, I know. Some people say, I'd like to find out. We'll get to that point. No, remember those words, because what happened then is what's happening now. The time for words, just words, is over. It is past time to start acting to defend our liberty, as we know, as those men at the Alamo had to do. Ronald Reagan said in his 1964 speech, A Time for Choosing, there is a price we will not pay. There is a cost too dear. There is a place where they may not advance and from which we will not retreat. The men at the Alamo found their line in the sand, and now we have to find ours. Where is the place from which we will not retreat? We've got problems. That's why we're here. I'm not going to talk about the nature of the problem because I think other speakers have done that, and you know pretty much. But just let me just tell you what I think. You got to diagnose the problem before you can have a proper and successful plan of treatment. Here's the problem. Washington is broken. The two-party system is corrupt and broken too. Not that everybody in it is corrupt, but it is a corrupting influence. Washington will never fix itself. You can't reform the two-party system from within. We have to find new methods, new tools, new ideas to fight this fight. We are up to the challenge. We are up to that task, but that's why we all look around. When we come to this place, we say, how did we get here? How did it happen in our lifetime that we came this close to losing our Constitution, our liberty, and our freedom, our country? How did it happen? Well, it happened because basically we let it. We knew that the federal tyranny would push back on the states, and we let them. We let them destroy our 10th Amendment sovereignty. And that's how it happened. These barrage of unconstitutional federal acts, we didn't stand up and stop it. But that's what we've got to do, and that's how we can do it. We've got to have a plan, though. A plan for Texas independence. And I'm not talking about secession. We'll get to that. But to be a free and independent state under the 10th Amendment, as our founding fathers and our Constitution acknowledged we were and should be. I'd like to tell you my personal why I'm doing this. Maybe it's something like yours. I knew, as we all did, that study history and the Constitution, that we were on a bad course. And someday there'd be a day of reckoning. It would all crash. Intellectually, I knew that. But I thought, that's someday way, way away, after I'm dead and gone. And then in about 2010, it hit me. I saw what was happening. I said, if we don't stop this, I'm liable to outlive my country. And that hit me in the gut. I said, this can't happen. This cannot happen. No, and I'm not going down without a fight. If they want my liberty, they want it so bad, they're going to have to come and take it. And so I ran for governor. You didn't get that transition. I'll make it a little clearer. But the plan is that we've got to start acting like the free and sovereign state that we are under the Constitution, using the tool right there in the owner's manual, nullification. It's something we can do, and it is has the best promise for resisting this federal tyranny in a peaceful way, have a peaceful resolution to this problem. Now, while I was running for governor, some people would say, why don't you run for president? I said, I want to be Texas governor. Why would I accept a demotion? Yeah. I mean, who in his right mind, if he could be governor of the state of Texas, would be willing to give all that up and go around trying to become president? Oh, never mind. Well, I tell that little joke to make a point, and that is this. We are in a battle for America. And Texas is the battleground. But we're not battle ready because we have no leaders. We need leaders. We need leaders who believe in this, for all the way from governor down to your constitutional county sheriffs. Do we have any county sheriffs here? Any county law enforcement people? Well, thank you. All over, we've seen a spontaneous demonstration of the powers of nullification, where they say, I will not comply. I will not take away people's guns in my county, and I won't let the Fed come in and do it either. And that's what we've got to have more of. That's the basis of the plan. I said I'll get back to secession. I'm not talking about secession here. I'm talking about a return to constitutional government. I'm talking about a plan where we can all stay Americans, but stay free and stay independent of Washington. We got to push back on Washington. That's what we've got to do. But we can do it as Americans under the Constitution. Now, I tell my secessionist friends, and I've got a lot of them, that if you think we can more easily secede than return to constitutional government, you're dangerously wrong. And shouldn't we at least first try to implement the Constitution as it was intended to be? Just act free and sovereign as we're supposed to be? And if that does it, then we don't have to go through the pain and the heartbreak and the bloodshed that would be involved in an attempt to secede. So, let's talk a little bit about nullification, what that is. Basically, we don't need to overcomplicate this. It's if something is done in your state that violates state law, like groping somebody at the airport, what would happen to them? They get arrested. Okay, but what if they're employed by the federal government? Same thing. You just treat them like you would any other criminal. You did that, it's unconstitutional, you had no right, it violated Texas law, we're going to arrest you, our good county sheriff's going to arrest you, you're going to stand trial, and you may go to jail. So that's basically it. Just start acting like the sovereign people that you are and recognize unconstitutional federal acts and resist them. That's why I say the fact that our governor would even think about wanting to resign so he could become president shows that he didn't get it. He does not understand the threats we face and the pivotal role that a governor plays in this fight. Because we have to, and if you don't understand the job description, is it any wonder you don't get the job done? So that's why I say we've got to have people, leaders. But remember the people at the Alamo, how many were there? 180. Okay? Not that many, but they changed the course of history. So that can give you some confidence that we don't have to change every mind of every Texan to make this work. We have to have a dedicated, persistent few who understands the stakes and is willing to fight the fight. And more will come in. In the revolution, that's what happened, American Revolution. As they saw people actually fighting the fight, they came in. And if Texas does this, we will bulwark for freedom, we'll push back on Washington, other states will see what we're doing. And they'll follow suit. Of course they will, because we're Texas. They're used to looking to us for inspiration and example. So this thing can build, but we've got to get started with, I used to say, what's going to be the flashpoint? The thing that people just get it. And I didn't know what it was going to be. Now I think we know. I think it's going to be an attempt to take away our gun rights. I think that's going to be the thing that just awakens people who've been sleeping or tell themselves that it wasn't that bad yet. This is a clarifying moment. And we all hope for a peaceful resolution of this. Nobody wants any bloodshed to come of this. And if the peace is broken, it won't be our side who did it first. Not at all. It'll be the federal tyrants who are trying to provoke a confrontation. I mean, I hear that the federal government has 2 billion rounds of ammunition. Right? Stockpiled, I don't know where. I hope it's in Texas. 2 billion rounds, that's 5 bullets. 5 bullets for every man, woman, and child in America. Well, that tells me something, and it's not good, and it's that somebody is planning on a resolution that is not peaceful and bloodless. Ronald Reagan said, there is a point in space and time, and beyond space and time, where whether we like it or not, spells duty. Duty, that's a new 4-letter word. Nobody talks about duty anymore, except maybe people in our generation who still remember it and honor that concept. Well, I don't much like it, what I see my duty is, but I'm going to do it. And I want other people to say, I recognize my duty is to save America by saving Texas, by pushing back on unconstitutional federal acts. So I'll leave you with these words, also from Colonel Travis' letter from the Alamo. And I hope you'll go home and tomorrow and read it, just because it speaks so much to what we're doing now, what we're up against now. He said, no retreat, no surrender. Those are good words. Feels good to say. Will you say it with me? No retreat, no surrender. No retreat, no surrender. No retreat, no surrender. Thank you very much.